Everybody, welcome to the I Like It Spooky Horror Podcast inDIE Spotlight. I'm Brian.
I'm Leah Stalker.
I am Clint, and I have one burning question right now, and that is, Leah, did you actually have time to watch this movie?
I had time to watch the movie. Did I have time to sleep? No. So one was traded out for the other. I did end up making it to bed by 5 a.m., and then we're recording now at 11 a.m.
So I was graced with Leah's presence out to Haunting in the Hills and over to psychotherapy yesterday. It was a lot of fun. I'm glad that you finally got to see it in person and hear me talk more than I do on this show about everything that's going on out there. But yeah, it was late. And then at the end of the night, she's like, shit, I got to go watch this movie. We got to get out of here.
And I still had an hour drive home. I had to stop and get gas on the way there. Like, it's just everything that could go awry kept going awry. And then I got home and then I settled in and I put on this movie and it was a movie.
You know what we totally forgot to do? We completely forgot to take a picture of us giving Brian the bird.
I did realize that now that we're on air looking at Brian that we forgot to flip him off. We'll have to do two the next time we're together because we're going to be seeing a lot of each other.
Although the listeners can't see this, let's make up for it right now and flip Brian off.
There we go.
That's from last night, buddy. Love from us to you.
Love you, Brian.
I was at work making money. I'm good.
Well, Mr. I'm on my Eyeless. Money while
I'm a responsible adult. I have money.
Yeah, well, adulting sucks.
Adulting does suck.
I may have watched a movie during my time making money, but may not have. If anybody from my work's listening.
Did it happen to be the movie that we're going to be discussing here that is called Demon Behind the Glass by any chance?
It may have been that, but it also was Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 and Werewolf vs. Vampire Ladies, I think is what the one was called.
Wait, hold on a second. You're giving us shit when you went to work and watched 3 movies? Oh, good God.
Is that all you watched last night? You're saying that you watched, I thought you said previously you watched it all last night?
I worked Friday and Saturday night for 4 hours each night. It was time and a half plus $5 an hour and $50 gift card for every 4 hours you pick up.
And he returned the favor by pretending to adult and just watch movies.
Yeah.
Maybe he is the smartest of us all.
I can do both.
Well, let's talk about Demon Behind the Glass and see if we think that this movie was pretending to be a horror movie or not.
So Demon Behind the Glass was offered to us by the director, I believe, Joshua Renzi, making the rounds on the film festival circuit. Actually, it looks like you can buy it right now on Prime to watch.
That's what I did. When I looked it up, I did a Google search to see where I could see it before I started going through all my services, and it said Tubi. And maybe it was at one point because the film was released on August 23rd of 2023, but then it says a U.S. release of July 16th, 2024, so not that long ago. But it originally said Tubi, and I looked it up, it wasn't there, and so I found it on Prime.
And you paid for it?
Yeah, it was like $5.99, I think, or something like that.
We have a screener in the email.
We had a screener.
I had no idea we had a screener. Thank you for the screener, director. God damn it.
Yeah.
We love supporting indie.
Yeah, hey.
Totally works out. It goes to a good cause. But no, last night when I got home settling in, part of it was searching through the spooky emails, being like, where the fuck is this screener at?
Yeah, it's quite a ways down there now, but there's a trailer on YouTube from Horror Brains, so you can go check that out. Is it horror? Kind of like Older Gods.
I'm so glad you said that. I felt like we were watching Older Gods. I enjoyed the tone of this movie. I enjoyed the look of this movie. I enjoyed most of the acting of this movie, but I felt like I was watching, I don't want to say generic version of Older Gods because that's too harsh and that's not completely how I feel, but I feel it was very much in the same vein. But I feel Older Gods did a better job of explaining the story. This is, and I'll get off my monologue here in a second. Sorry, everybody's getting ready to chime in. And that is this, and I have been in this place before, and this is just my critique, and I am absolutely nobody. So this is where you see young filmmakers or young people with any kind of project. I feel that they need to edit themselves, and I have been here before where I put out something that I think is a masterpiece and people are like, nah, and then I look at it again a couple years later with older eyes and I'm like, oh, I muddled it down because I didn't edit myself.
I agree with the editing, honestly. I do feel like, I think that the movie was an hour and 43 minutes, and I feel like it could have been just streamlined a little bit more. I liked the overall story. I did like the look of it. I liked the acting as well. Especially for me, there were some real banger lines in here. There were some real silly things, and I don't know if it was so intentionally supposed to be funny, but there was some stuff that was said that just absolutely took me out. I really liked that. The unfortunate thing was just that there were some parts that did drag a little bit, and so it would kept kind of, I'd be in it and then I got taken out of it a little bit. And I don't know if this is because it was 2 a.m. when I was watching the movie, but I was diligently paying attention and I kept getting a little bit lost on the story. So I don't know if anyone else had that issue or if it was just a Leah thing.
No, I got lost in the story as well. We talked about the acting, and I tell you what right now, first of all, there's a character named Clint, so that's fucking cool, right?
Yeah.
Played by Tim O'Hearn. The standout performance for me in this movie was from Joshua, I'm going to screw up your name, I always do, Settlemeyer. Ooh, maybe I said that right. He played Isaac. Absolutely fucking phenomenal. And then also Michael Yamin, who played Deputy Tom.
I don't know, and maybe this is weird, and this isn't trying to, it's just totally what came to mind, because Isaac is the one that was in the, poncho, right?
Correct.
You both have kids, so maybe you've seen it. Have you guys seen Encanto? Because I was getting Bruno vibes.
I haven't, no.
In the best way, I was getting Bruno vibes. It's just, Bruno is just a title character in that, but when he showed up on all of that aside, I really did like Isaac. I felt like his delivery of lines, he was just weirdly cryptic, and it was so enjoyable, and he was just such a weirdo right from the get, and I loved that.
See, my kids are older, so we haven't seen Encanto, and if you've seen Finley recently in the video where she goes, "I'm Abigail. I'm a ballerina. I'll kill you." I was like, oh my God.
All right, Clint's kids are not sitting around watching Disney. Fair enough.
No, and Finley's plotting how to kill us. Yeah, Finley's trying to kill us.
His kids are older. They've been plotting to kill him for years now.
Oh, fair enough. Fair enough. That's right. Finley. So Finley said that she's going to kill you?
We watched Abigail, or they watched Abigail the other day when I was at work, and then I came home and caught the last part of it. And I had fun with that. Editing the podcast, the latest episode of the main show, and she's standing behind my shoulder, and she says, "I'm Abigail. I'm a ballerina vampire. I will kill you." And moves her head
Brian recently tells me, he's like, yeah, I think I'm going to come up for something that I got cooking here in November. And then he goes, and Tiff and Finley might come too. And I'm going, I just watched that video. I don't know. They're going to kill me and bury me behind the wall in the mirror, just like happened in Demon Behind the Glass, which was another cool part of the movie that I liked, was Isaac's dead body stuffed in the wall. That was pretty sweet.
Okay, but the only thing that I didn't understand is, and so did they found the dead body and the deputy comes and looks at it. And then does he just kind of say, well, we got to leave it for a while?
He's trying to extort money out of the guy.
Okay.
To get it out of there. He wants $5,000 to remove the body. And the guy's like, this isn't my house. Why would I fucking pay you to take that out of there? He's like, just leave it.
That was wild to me, because then later on the body disappears and he's like, you lost the body. And it was like, well, you could have just taken it. But I get it now. He was trying to get the money for it. Remove it. Ugh.
That was kind of my issue with the movie, is everybody knows I'm story driven. And I think at the core, this had, Ali, you said something similar earlier, that at the core, this was a great concept, but there were things that happened like that, little plot points throughout the movie that just didn't make sense, but were in place to move the story forward, that I couldn't get behind. Being an indie project, and even if this was a big budget blockbuster, there was enough great in this movie. Well, I still encourage people to support it and go see it, because they did a lot of fun things. There was a couple times where there's blood gets splattered and it hits the lens of the camera and it breaks that fourth wall. And I don't think it was intentional. Maybe it was, but there's a lot of cool little things in there like that. And I also have never been a big fan of CGI. There's quite a bit of CGI in this film. For the most part, I thought it was done really well, especially when the the demons would dissipate from different beings into others, and you would see the smoke rise. Some of the blood and the gore incorporated what it looked like a blend of practical effects and the CGI. So for the most part, I thought they did a really good job with the tools they had available to them.
I agree that I did really like the blend of the practical effects and the CGI effects. I agree that the CGI was done very well. But they also, you had your demon and he's just in makeup and he's in prosthetics and all that. And it was very cool looking. It was very unique. And then there were a lot of aspects of him that were like he had that creepy hand that would come out a lot, things like that. There was one point where he's looming over the main character and then it seems like the hand's coming out from his pants. And I was like, oh, is that a demon hand in your pocket or you just happen to see me? But so like, I don't know. I did enjoy the mixture of the two. I do think that the effects were very good, except the one effect that took me out. And I don't know. It's one of those things, like you said, I don't know if it's supposed to be funny, is the fake raccoon going for the bacon. And it was so obviously a stuffed raccoon on a stick being put up, and it took me out. It was kind of funny.
The action of that scene so fast, I was like, what the hell just happened? But
I rewound it.
Hitting on a couple points that you just brought up, Brian, I don't know if you felt this, but I don't know again if it was intentional or not by the filmmakers, but I saw some influences and the arms that would come out of Isaac that would go into different things. All I could think of was Hellraiser 2. When the doctor, towards the end of that, I forget the name of when he became the Cenobite, he had those that would shoot out into people. And I also thought that the corpse look of Isaac, it reminded me of the Incredible Melting Man.
Yeah, so maybe some influences from when they were younger, the director or the actors growing up. I'm not sure of their age, but one thing you said, Leah, that makes me really think this movie needs tightened up is that you thought it was over an hour and 40 minutes long. It's an hour and 20 minutes long.
Okay, that might have just been me and my brain reading it wrong or something like that. That's my bad.
Well, I mean, maybe that you thought it was that long. Maybe you're like, oh, this felt long, and it wasn't.
Thing is I did have to kind of like pause it here and there. It was late at night, but I finished it up by 5 a.m. and stuff, just because at some points I did have to. It was good. It's just that at some points I was just like, okay, I have to go take a walk around. I have to, because I just wasn't as drawn in at points that I wanted to be. And I don't want to bash it. I really, really enjoyed it. It was just that a very much an ebb and flow, in my opinion.
I think what happened, and Brian and you and I run into this problem where we watch something that we really enjoy and then we watch something that we haven't seen and we're like, I think I would have liked this better if I didn't watch my favorite horror movie before it. And Leah was riding on cloud 9. She was riding high on adrenaline from visiting Haunting in the Hills and psychotherapy.
It's very true. I had such a good time.
And there's how many stories in this film? I mean, there's the story of the writer who finds the body. He's disgraced. He's lost his job. He's lost everything. It doesn't sound like he's got anything left. He's going to look for this story. And then you get a pregnant lady that's a government official that keeps coming in and out of the film for no apparent reason. You have the sheriff trying to, arrest him and keep peace. Does he even know what's going on? And then you have this cult and you have Isaac, and it was a lot of layers and really hard to pull together in an hour and 20 minutes.
Exactly. And that was probably one of the hardest things for me to really figure out, where I did get confused, was the character of the pregnant woman. When they first met, I didn't think they knew each other, but then it was almost like they've been long lost friends. And it was so odd because when they first met, she drives up to the house that Isaac is renting in this small town and was very standoffish with him. The raccoon explodes, blood gets all over her. And I mean, she was ready to leave. She didn't know this guy. She wanted nothing to do with him, I perceived. And the next thing you know, she's in his shower. And I was just like, that is so odd. There were 2 or 3 points throughout this film where there was jumping conflict like that I just had a hard time making sense of.
And a demon shows up and she's like, I gotta go. And then she goes back.
Right. I wasn't sure if that was just me being a weird person because, you are covered in blood, so maybe you do want that instantaneous shower, but it just felt so quickly, so personal to be in someone's house and taking a shower when something like, just get in the car, you can wash it later, but get in the car and leave. It's weird.
Yeah, when I'm covered in blood, I like to let it linger for a while. Just enjoy it.
See, that sounds worse too.
So we have Isaac, who, like I said, has lost everything. She's pregnant and I gather has lost her husband. He's passed away, her significant other. Did you catch that?
Well, it seems like she was also in like a mental ward or kept seeing things. She was hallucinating because she had that conversation with her dad.
You have Isaac, who's our villain, but at the same time, I almost feel sorry for him. Like he's the town, he's creepy, but he's never hurt anybody, is the way I understand it. But this cult's using him and they want to get rid of him, so they put him in the wall and tell the demon to take, over his body. So is this pawn that these evil people that run the town have used?
Yeah, you could feel some sympathy for him. I guess so. Kind of what we're getting at is, far as story, it was layered. The word layered came up earlier. So not only was the story layered, but also the story of just about all of the characters were immensely layered. And I think that's kind of where I got what I was going for when I said something about edit, was just pare back the backstory a little bit, because sometimes you can get lost in the backstory.
It seems to be a general, I won't say consensus, but an issue that a lot of the indie movies we watch have, that it's a very deep story. There's a lot that goes into a story, from Darius to Wyland to Older Gods was one of the ones that did it really well. Is that the only films that we've watched for Indie Spotlight? Oh, Publish and Perish did it really well. So maybe those are more polished writers. I mean, the one guy's a professor at a university, so I would imagine he's a published, a polished writer. But that they have to just tighten things up a little bit and censor yourself and edit yourself and maybe leave this part out because it doesn't drive the story or it doesn't need to be there. Start with one thing. Start with your special effects and hone that skill, and then work on your story. And maybe this is early in this person's filmography and they're still learning to do things. But if this is early, imagine what later is going to be like. It'll be better. It'll be good. I mean, this was good. I didn't hate this film. I wouldn't say don't watch it. I'd say if you're an indie filmmaker and you want to learn a lot and you want to see some cool stuff from an independent project, go check this out.
I do think that there were a lot of pros to this movie. No part of me, even if I did talk about having to pause it and take a walk or something like that, no part of it is where I would say this was awful, don't watch it. I really enjoyed it. I do think that what you said, tightening it up, could just a world of difference. There were a lot of characters in it, and I don't think everyone needed that intense backstory. That's all it was. I think that as a storyteller, you get very excited to say, this is what's driving this character, so on and so forth. But a lot of times with movies, you'll hear an actor say, oh, this was something that we discussed with the director. This is something that I thought of. Even though they have those backstories in their minds, it doesn't mean that everything has to make it to film. It doesn't have to make it into the story for everyone else. As long as you have those things that are driving the character and everyone knows about it. That's my opinion on it. But it wasn't bad. It was very good. It had a lot of really great shining points.
And again, I want to hit home that I can tell you from experience, whether it's screenwriting or even putting together a commercial for the podcast, once you do it as an artist, I'm not an artist, I hate calling them, but as, that's my baby. I just birthed this thing and it is awesome. And no, I don't want to go butcher it up and cut it up. You know what I mean? It is wonderful and beautiful as it is. So it is extremely hard. And it's been a lesson that I've personally learned along the way of the last 20 years of dabbling in this and that I've done. No, but I agree completely. I am looking forward to more films from Two in the Chamber production company who put this on. This visually was an amazing film. They had some day for night shots that were really cool. Solid filmmaking. You also touched on Publish or Perish. And I got to chime in real quick because I tell you what, I was not on that episode. I listened to the episode. You guys did an amazing job. It, for me, was what I feel we always strive to create for our listeners. There were so many times when I was listening to that episode where I was like verbally, I was telling Leah this last night. I verbally was getting ready to like chime in when it was my time to say something. I was just like, but yeah, and then blah, blah. And I didn't even see the movie. I'm just listening to your conversation. I'm like, yeah, and but oh shit.
Do you think he'd like Publish or Perish?
I think so. I was actually just going to say that I do think that you should watch, not to sidetrack from the movie that we watched in this episode. Clint, you have to see Publish or Perish. And I even did, as I said, recommend it to my dad and told him that he needed to watch it. So
if you recommend it to your dad and I'm the divorced dad then I guess maybe we're in. Although I got to admit, when I saw you last night, you had no chain wallet, you had no trucker hat, you had no band t-shirt.
No, I did have a chain wallet on. I had a chain wallet. That's what I have all my stuff in.
Oh, I didn't see the chain wallet. Well, still, no trucker hat, no band t-shirt. I was rather disappointed. But I was not, even though it sounds like it, I was not disappointed by this movie. Yeah, based off what you guys were talking about, Publisher Paris, just listening to that episode, I want to see the movie. I think it's what we strive to do for any project that we talk about in any of the shows here in the Spookyverse. And I hope that even though we seem to kind of have a negative tone on this, that we're making people want to see this, because it is a film to be seen for sure.
Do you think that if they would have taken the creature out of the film and left just the cult stuff and the body in the wall and Isaac and Sinister, you don't see anything with the creature, you feel like that would have been better or worse?
Sometimes I think what you don't see is better, because your mind can make up even worse things than what can be shown to you. But I actually enjoyed, I think that was one of the things I enjoyed most about this, was the creature effects, was seeing Isaac in the different forms. Not only was the acting when he was in human form just fucking amazing, but I loved the incredible melting man, burnt, decomposed, body. The arms coming out I thought were a little overused, but that's not even a thing. And I also really loved the crescendo of this film. I feel that the actual ending was a little predictable, but I liked how it gave our main character, the journalist, a story arc because of the creature effects. That was actually another, kind of going off on a tangent, sorry, that was another nod that I saw, is a couple points where you actually see, I think, what is supposed to be the full embodiment, the physical manifestation of the demon. It looked a lot to me like the demon from Night of the Demons. At the very end of Night of the Demons, when you see the CGI head floating above the thing. It also, oh my God, I'm going to talk forever since I didn't talk last episode. I've hinted, and we haven't covered it on any of the shows here in the Spookyverse yet, but it reminded me a lot of Demon Lover, which is a horror movie shot in my hometown in 1976 from Donald G. Jackson and Jerry Yunkins. Gunnar Hansen was involved, Bill Bates. I could go on and on, but there's a scene in that reminded me of this movie as well. So it'd be so cool. I think that's another reason I enjoyed it, because I saw influences and layers to some pretty obscure things, and maybe I was reaching, maybe I'm wrong.
You know what it reminded me of? Cropsy from The Burning.
A little bit. Did you see that he's going to be at Horror Hound?
I did see that.
Pretty sure so the guy who played Cropsy is going to be at Horror Hound.
So if you go meet Cropsy, and then you listen to this, you can chime in on our social media and be like, oh, yeah, I met him. And he cut my fucking fingers off with a...
Ooh.
With the shears? So our friend Josh Perlmutter at Bootleg as Fuck Toys got a hold of me, and he's like, I'm making a Cropsy toy, because he knows I make a Cropsy toy for inkprinters.com. But he made one, and I'm pretty sure it's the shears. Isaac didn't need any fucking tools. He had demon tentacles coming from him that it looked like they were going into people's mouths to like transfer the evil, or they were to kill people, control. They were like multi-purposed tentacles.
There were some instances where they were hanging around in his mouth. And just to go back quickly to Brian's question previously, is that I think I would have been disappointed if I didn't see the demon as much, because I really did enjoy. I do think that they did a good job with it. I do agree with Clint that I think some of the effects became, like, the hands could have maybe been utilized a little bit less to make it a little bit more special. They kept coming out. There was one instance, I think it was the first time when he was sleeping and we saw the hand, and it was very CGI'd in my opinion. And I wish that would have been more of a physical or a practical effect. But that's such a minor thing to say. Like, it wasn't anything bad. I enjoyed the demon. I do think that the demon being in there didn't take away from it so much. Maybe, as with some of the other things that we said, it could have just been refined a little bit. That's the thing, though, is that at the end of the day, you have such a good foundation of a story. So refinement is always possible. I agree, Clint, that it's hard to take that baby and butcher it. When you have something that it's a good story, good acting, good effects and all that, it's only going to go up from here. Absolutely.
It's not hard for Brian because he likes to punch babies, but...
My God, what the He just gave a thumbs up.
Yeah. Boy, his face lit up like a damn Christmas tree on fire, didn't it?
What is it?
The Mike Tyson of baby punching.
Oh God.
We are, and I'm a little sad that nobody's brought this up yet. We are missing probably the most important part of this film, for this discussion anyway, and that is justice for Eyeless.
Justice for Eyeless. It's in my notes. And what a wonderful name for an eyeless cat. My notes do say justice for Eyeless. Though you never actually got to see Eyeless that I know of. You got to see the
You
little...
got to see one of Eyeless's eyes.
That was about it. So it didn't hit quite as hard. I kind of liked that it was just alluded to and you didn't actually...
See the cat explode in the microwave?
I don't know. I wasn't as upset about this one. Maybe because I didn't see the cat, so it didn't feel like they were pandering and getting me like attached to the animal and then doing something. It was mostly just the motivation of having her search around for the cat and getting her into the garage sort of situation. Then you did have the eye. So it didn't make me as upset as watching an actual cat being put into a microwave. Shocker.
You know, they say that serial killers start as young children torturing animals. So what is it with all these indie filmmakers and their fixation on butchering cats? Does anybody want to give a quick backstory so people who don't know what's going on might know what the fuck is going on?
Pretty much when it came to the first episode of Indie Spotlight, we watched Darius, and there were a lot of things that were quite jaw-dropping about that film. But the thing that really stuck out to me was that the cat Stella, towards the end, for no real good story-driven reason, was put into a microwave. And so it started the discussion of, do people just do these things to animals because they know it will elicit a reaction versus is it actually pushing the story? I do think that this was more of a story-driven plot point, but that cat's name was Stella and I kept shouting the entire time, justice for Stella, and now it's justice for Eyeless.
Yeah, because there's a cat in this film, Demon Behind the Glass, that is named Eyeless, and it's because it's blind and it has 2 glass eyes, which is bizarre to begin with, right? I was like, what?
Why would you give it a glass eye?
But it wasn't just like 1 glass eye, it was 2 glass eyes. And then that sent me down the rabbit hole of thinking of, I say this to people all the time, like animals nowadays wind up with all these like human conditions that they're treated for. And I'm like, this is insane. I don't, what do you mean your dog is depressed or your cat has glass eyes? Like, I don't understand. It's an animal. I love animals, but yeah, so this animal, this cat, Eyeless, had 2 glass eyes, and of course the demon pops up off screen, kills the cat, or at least rips one of its glass eyes out and tosses the bloody stump of a marble over across on the floor. It was like, oh, justice for Eyeless.
Poor baby. Justice for Eyeless. And I will say too, as much as I always like to harp on the thing about the animal violence, I will say, and this is I think it's funny, is the fact that we've mentioned before that I worked at Psychopathic Records, and I would go into the studio and I would record things. And at one point we recorded something. It was like one of those tracks where it was a self-contained horror movie. And we literally, as we're recording this horror movie-esque audio, the producer goes, by the way, we're going to shoot the dog. No good reason, but it's going to piss everyone off. So
wow.
we knew that it would elicit an affair. And or not elicit affair. That's a Taylor Swift song.
Well, if Eyeless could see how upset Leah is, I think she'd be, happy because someone cared that much. But she's not seeing shit.
I can't believe I accidentally dropped
I can hear it because she's banging on the freaking mic. I'm like, she's mad. She's banging on the desk.
I'm sorry. I just derailed.
Should we have a moment of silence for Eyeless?
A moment of silence for Eyeless, please. Yes, let me pull myself together.
Okay, not that long, because I missed out talking the last episode. I got to say something. People need to hear my voice. I'm just kidding. Do you know, I know a whole bunch of voices that people need to hear. And that is from all of the great shows, not only from the Spookyverse, but from our podcast network, the PFPN.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal, providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.pfpn.com. thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.
So now that we've heard from our podcast network, Clint has something else to say.
Shocker. Hey, I mean, that's what we're supposed to do here is talk, right? No, there was a point about the film that I forgot to bring up before we went to the podcast network. I'm curious if you guys agree. As far as Demon Behind the Glass, as I'm watching it, I started to feel I had this, like, I wonder if the filmmakers have had experience doing, like, docudramas. Like when you're watching, like, a ghost hunter show and they reenact that part of the story. Because I felt at certain points like I was watching a docudrama recreation of true crime or something. No? Just me?
I didn't have that in the moment, but now that you mention it and I'm thinking back to it, I can honestly see that. Yes. It was, like I said, it wasn't something that I thought in the moment. Wasn't having that, but now I'm like, oh, okay. So that is a really good point of wondering if that's part of their background or something like that.
It really hit for me when the Clint character took the dead body and was on the lonely side of the road of a lonely highway and was going to go bury this body. Presumably there was a shovel, the body was wrapped up. And I was watching it and all in my head I heard like, and then Clint took the body to the side of Highway 101. And then you see the reenactment of Clint doing that. And I was like, wow, this is like a docudrama.
Like a American Justice with Bill Curtis on A&E. Kind of like that, how they'd reenact stuff.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad you said A&E. I'm like, what are you talking about? Oh, yeah. Mm.
Up at 4 o'clock in the morning because you work night shift and there's nothing fucking on but American Justice and Cold Case Files, maybe? Or it's like, oh, it's nighttime and everyone's asleep except for the killers. Let's watch American Justice.
I love me some Cold Case Files. And when you're dealing with insomnia, there's nothing you want more than some murder.
Because they're still out there.
I go to the Food Network.
Oh, that's weird. Different.
I was fine when everything was open 24 hours. You could be like, oh, now I want a pizza. You could go get it, but now everything closes at 11.
Certain Taco Bells are starting to stay open 24 hours again.
You can get hookers and blow all hours of the night, but not pizza. And some Taco Bells.
You can get tacos. According to what Brian said, you can get tacos and tacos. Oh,
yeah.
I'm going to get hate mail for that one.
What do you think? Should we wrap it up? I'm hungry for tacos.
What?
What?
Hey, don't these episodes come out on Tuesday? Fucking Taco Tuesday, baby. Taco Tuesday. And after Clint disposed of the dead body alongside Highway 101, he went to Taco Bell because they're now open 24/7.
Yo quiero Taco Bell.
What's the thing? Like un mas bong.
Yeah.
Bong. They're also bringing back the apple empanadas, so that's worth it.
Oh, fuck yeah. That's what I want to do after I bury a dead body alongside the road is eat apple empanadas at 4 a.m. because USA Up All Night just went off the air. Now there's nothing to watch but Cold Case Files and fucking A&E and fucking the Food Network. You know what? I think I'm going to get off this podcast now so I can go eat tacos, eat empanadas, watch all those great shows, and listen to all of the great shows offered by the I Like It Spooky Horror podcast. We put out a lot of shit. So, I mean, I need to, fill my time and listen to all these shows, including the new one that has hit the circuit, The Wrong Podcast Died, with Rod. I still have a love-hate relationship with Rod, but we're working it out. We're going to go to therapy, or he might just wind up alongside the road in Highway 101, and then I go eat Taco Bell.
I just have the hate part.
It's okay, Rod. I love you, since no one else will.
Fucking Rod.
Until next time.
Taco Bell does sound good.
Highway 101, baby.
What do you think this is all about? You think this is a fucking costume? This is a way of life.